We've all been there. You're in a partnership with somebody and you know it's not working, but for some reason you just can't pull the plug. Why? And how long do you give them before you kick them out and go on with your life? And today we're asking that question when it comes to the farming business. How long do you sit that crop down that used to be your favorite and have the conversation nobody wants to have? It's not working, little buddy. I'm gonna have to cut you loose. One season? Two season? Are you gonna let them hang around for 3 seasons? Most farmers don't have an answer to that. And that's a problem, a real problem. Without a benchmark, every crop always gets another chance. Every underperforming market stream gets one more season. Every system that's not quite working gets left in place because maybe next year it'll be different. Maybe you might change. I don't know. But they never change. Today, I'm giving you a system for setting benchmarks on your products, your techniques, and your market streams. 7 steps to know exactly when to double down and when to simply walk away. I'm Diego, Diego. Welcome to Modern Grower, where we talk about building a profitable farm business, not just a farm. Let's get into it. Step number 1. What is a benchmark? A benchmark is a minimally accepted performance standard. It's the line below which something is no longer worth your time, your money, your land, or your attention. It's not a goal. It's the floor. Drop below here, gone. This is kind of like relegation in the English Premier League. You don't score enough, you're out. Goals are what you aim for. Benchmarks are what you refuse to accept. There is a huge difference here. The goal says, I want this crop to do $3,000. A benchmark says, if this crop doesn't hit $1,500, gone. Like Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. I think he's going to be. The benchmark protects your operation from your own optimism because we have a hard time letting go of things that we put care into, thought into, love into. This is ruthless math. We're going to cut straight to it here. And the math is the knife, the guillotine that just comes down and chops the head off that product so it never comes back. Number 2, set benchmarks for the product. Every crop on your farm needs a revenue floor. Below that floor, it doesn't matter how much you enjoy growing it, it does not earn a top spot. Here's how to set a floor. Look at your top performing crops, calculate the average revenue per bed across those top crops. The average becomes your benchmark. Any product that falls significantly below that benchmark is a candidate for removal. Not automatically, but it's put on notice. Shape up, improve, or get out of here. Think of this like a team roster. Your starters earn their position every season. If somebody on the bench is not producing, they don't get another year just because you like them, unless you're Bronny James or one of the Antetokounmpo brothers. But it's the reality. We have to cut things that don't work. I've done this in our business. There are things that I would love to keep selling that people ask for, but they simply don't make enough money to justify buying the inventory, storing the inventory, fulfilling customer questions on that product. They don't add incrementally to our business, so they're gone. In the farming context, Ellen Polishuk, who's talked about this, she's somebody who's consulted on farms ranging from market gardens to 150-acre farms. And she talks about collecting small bits of data throughout the season rather than trying to track everything at once. 3 data points a week, these tiny nuggets of information can help accumulate into benchmarks over time. So in order to do these types of benchmarking, we need data. You need to be tracking this stuff. You don't need a perfect system. You just need a consistent one. What are you selling? What are you growing? How much of it? How much isn't selling? Those types of things. Number 3, Benchmarks for techniques. Products that you sell are not the only things that need a benchmark. Your methods do too. How long should bed prep take? 5 minutes? 20 minutes? 40 minutes? How fast should a harvest run? 10 minutes? 30 minutes? 60 minutes? How many beds should one person be able to transplant in an hour? Half? One? Two? If you don't know your answer, you can't improve, and you definitely can't identify what's dragging your operation down. Start with time and a stopwatch. Track how long each major task takes over a week. Not every task, just the big three: bed prep, planting, harvesting. You can get more nuance later. Those numbers tell you more about your farm's efficiency than any other metric. If bed prep is taking twice as long as you think it should be, it's not about a work harder problem, although it might be depending on your workforce. It could be a systems problem, a tools problem, a bed problem. And you won't be able to identify this unless you know those times and can compare it to a benchmark. We're not moving fast. Why? Well, our soil is really hard, so it's hard to do the bed prep. Well, if we fix the soil, put a one-time investment into that, bed prep becomes a lot faster. You see how this could unfold and work. Number 4, benchmarks for market streams. This one gets overlooked consistently. Farmers set up a market stream, a CSA, a farmer's market booth, a restaurant account, and then just keep doing it year after year without asking whether it's actually performing. It's one of those things like, I've always done it. Why would I ever stop? Every market stream needs a dollar per hour benchmark. What does your farmer's market actually generate when you factor in setup, teardown, drive time, and the hours standing at the booth? What does your restaurant route pay in terms of hours of delivery and invoicing? If you've never done this math, you might be surprised. Some market streams might feel really profitable and productive, but they're actually your worst performing channel when you know the dollars per hour of labor. A benchmark isn't just revenue, it's the revenue per hour of your time. Number 5, how fast to make the cut. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They set a benchmark, something fails the benchmark, and we pretend it didn't and give it another season anyway. We just look away. I never put the benchmark down, so I'm going to honor it. Speed matters here. The longer you hold on to an underperformer, the more it costs you. If you're on a boat dragging a big anchor as you go forward, you're burning fuel that you don't need to be burning. Bring up the anchor. And you're not losing money just in terms of direct costs, but in terms of opportunity costs. What else could I put in that bed? What else could I use that time for, that energy for? It could be scaled up or recycled into something that actually works. Michael Bell talked about this and he put it very simply. He grows 3 to 4 crops per season. That's it. When something doesn't work mid-season, it's gone. He doesn't wait for a postseason review. He doesn't give it one more chance. It's gone. The faster you cut what's not working, the faster you can double down on what is. You have to be ruthless. This is your business. You have a finite amount of energy, time, and money. If you spend any of those 3 on things that aren't carrying their weight, you're wasting them. You can't get back your energy. You can't get back your time. You can eventually get the money back, but you don't want to waste any of these 3. Really think about cutting what doesn't hold its weight. Number 6, the other side of the benchmarks. Benchmarks aren't just about cutting, they're about recognizing the winners. When a crop clears your benchmark by a wide margin, gold star for that crop, that's a signal. Maybe I should grow more of that. Maybe I should plant more beds of that. More succession planting, more attention. I should really focus in. Winners earn more space, just like you'd see in sports. The people that perform get more playing time. They get more opportunities. Jill Duncan talked about this on a podcast. Her revenue has gone up every year on the same 1/8 of an acre plot. Not because she added land, but because she got faster at flipping beds and poured that into efficiency to make the crops that she was already growing work even better for her business. Same beds, better allocation, more productivity, more money. This is what benchmarks enable, not just defense against losers, offense with winners. We know what we want going into the playoffs. We're going to play these people. We know we don't want them. We want these. These are the stars. Number 7, this is your benchmark system in just 3 steps. Step 1, at the end of the season, assign a revenue per bed number to every product. Flag anything below your top crop average. Step 2, pick one technique to time track next week. Just one. Bed prep, planting, harvest. Write down how long it takes. Start to come up with an average for that process. Step 3, calculate the dollars per hour for each of your market streams. Include all the time, the drive time, the setup time, everything. 3 benchmarks, products, techniques, markets. That's the foundation that you will build off of to build a better, stronger business that's more focused on what's working instead of focusing on everything. The math. Let's do a business breakdown. Farmer Ellen Polishuk puts the benchmark for a full-time equivalent on a small-scale vegetable farm at $75,000 to $100,000 in gross production. If you're significantly below that range per full-time person on your farm, the issue is not that you need more land or more hours. The issue is most likely selling. It's your product mix, your techniques, or your market channels that are underperforming. Benchmarks will help you figure out which one. The move. This week, pick your single worst performing product from last season. You probably already know what that is without even looking at the data. Write down what it actually generated. Then write down what the bed space would have generated if you'd planted your best performer in its place. That gap is what underperformers can cost you. The mindset. Benchmarks are not just about being ruthless, although it is fun to be ruthless and just cut stuff away. There's an amazing feeling of freedom. Cutting something out of your operation, a process, a product, a customer, it's one less thing you have to deal with. And you somehow feel like it's addition by subtraction. I'm better off now that that thing's gone. It helps you reinvigorate your system. It changes the mojo of the whole thing. So you have to be honest here. Every crop you keep out of hope instead of evidence is a crop stealing space from something that's already performed. It's like, yeah, I know that, my partner's going to change. Like, we've had the same conversation 50 times. And this time it's going to be different. We all know how the story ends. They never change, and you have it a 51st time and then a 61st time. And eventually you're like, oh my God, what did I do with my whole life? Why am I still stuck with this person? And that's not me speaking from experience, because I've been with the person that I'm with for quite a long time and I love them very much and they've been great. At the end of the day, benchmarks are a cheap tool that you can use on your farm to increase performance. They're a cash flow tool, not a farming tool. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below. Hit the bell, hit subscribe, do all those things. Even if you just want to say hi is a comment, it all helps get the video rankings up. And that's important to us here at Modern Grower, where we talk about building profitable farm businesses, not just farms. I'm Diego, Diego. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.